are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just come. Just come. Just come. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just come. Just come. Just come. Just come.
From Sparta, Kentucky, the Racers Elite Nextgen Series is ready to get it on here in the Bourbon State. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sim Racing Media, as tonight we're going to be bringing you live action from right here at Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. And I'll tell you what, these drivers tonight have been practicing all week long, and this is one of the most exciting, almost short tracks that we have. Of course, just a short distance around this piece, 1.5 miles. This is becoming that bread and butter track here on the NASCAR racing circuit. So go ahead and grab that butter, grab that bourbon, and settle in here tonight. I'm Dave Regal, alongside my partner in crime tonight, Mr. Daniel Paulus, here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, where we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And Daniel, I am fresh back from vacation and ready to rock and roll with you tonight. I missed you guys last week, but I was excited to know that you still had a good race last week, all things considered. So welcome back in as we slide this thing all together.
Yeah, so last week it was an incredible racing going on. It was at Auto Club. We saw strategy come into play. We saw those tires getting chewed up a lot because Auto Club was an old surface, and we're going to see some of that happen here tonight from Kentucky Speedway. But last week, Dave, we saw Dennis Kane go and win at Auto Club, which I think is going to open the floodgates for a lot more wins later on this season. But we also saw Brandon Honeycutt win at Daytona, so we could see another surprise winner, because so far this season it's looking like we're going to have a lot of new surprise winners.
Well, here's the thing. After a driver gets that win under their belt, punches their ticket to the postseason, for lack of a better term, all bets are off. I mean, that driver could either start just dominating week after week and chalking up win after win, or they kind of back off and take care of their equipment, try to, feel out the rest of the field the rest of the way. And we're going to look at those points next week on a graphic. However, this week we've got them right here on Sim Racing Media. Brandon Honeycutt leads our point standings here with a win already in his pocket. Kensley Smith following just behind in second position. Then, of course, Brandon Zimmerman, Dennis Kane, Corey Crowell. Dennis Kane, of course, as you had mentioned, the other winner in this season so far. So, it's exciting, so as it is, coming in here to Kentucky, but things are just heating up now, as literally all we're waiting for is the other shoe to proverbially drop.
And with that being said, we're going to see these drivers, Dave, they're going to be getting probably a little more aggressive, knowing that, after Daytona, that's when the season starts, right? Because, Daytona, you could go win, or you can get out of that race very easily. So you would think that most of these drivers now know that Daytona's behind them. Auto Club, the first race, is done now. So, they're probably going to have to start figuring out what's the best solution to how this season's going to end up for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, taking a look at Braxton Barrett just finishing up. Brandon Honeycutt, of course, as I had mentioned, our points leader here in the 13 machine. He's getting himself all lined up here on that first lap of qualifying, as we see him just about 17, 18 seconds now through this first lap. I got to be honest, as these drivers work their way through 3 and 4, we're going to start to see them try to hug that yellow line just a little bit more. This is kind of an off-setter. He's kind of, left and right here on the racetrack, and as he crosses the start-finish line on that first lap, he's going to go 17th fastest. Now Honeycutt, of course, still waiting to get times from Jonathan Leach and Brandon Puffenbarger. Of course, Jonathan Leach, our chief cook and bottle washer here at Sim Racing Media, has yet to go out, and looks like that was negated. Interesting. As Brandon Honeycutt rolls it out of turn number 4 now, heading back toward the start-finish line. He crosses, and let's see if he gets any faster. No, he doesn't. So a rough qualifying effort for him. Now we'll take a look here at Jonathan Leach working his way through that first lap. Daniel, what's going to be the secret to boogieing around this piece?
Well, the secret to winning here at Kentucky is always going to be tire wear and fuel, because no matter what track we go to, I'm going to mention it again. Last week at Auto Club, we had 1 or 2 cautions. The rest went completely green, and that's going to allow these drivers to base it off of strategy. So if you're going to want to go to victory lane, you're going to have the strategy down pat. And I expect to see some of these drivers use their tire wear. Don't use their tire wear at the start, because this track is semi-old, Dave, and these tires get chewed up so easily to where the point you just don't have the grip anymore. But also, we've seen drivers with, having fuel strategy as well. Don't take tires, just take the fuel. So we're just going to have to see how this all plays out here tonight from Kentucky.
Absolutely. As we take a look here at Alex Teft in the 43, in the Family Dollar 43. Family Dollar I don't think gets enough recognition. Of course, they're kind of the, we'll say the urban version of Dollar General. But here he is killing it with that paint scheme on the 43, rolling it down the backstretch here. He's already gone 20th fastest. Right now, Brandon Puffenbarger sitting atop the pile with fast time of 30.26. Then, of course, Alex Teft, his first lap was 30.96, so 7/10 of a second off that pace set by Puffenbarger. And now as he crosses the start-finish line, he's going to jump up into 12th position to start this evening. So right now, the only driver not to go out and lay a qualifying lap is going to be Brandon Sanfilippo. Jeremy Carter, of course, I believe going to be in the race control booth. I would have to double-check that, and I will right here. And we mention it every week, and I cannot stress this enough. When you're in the race control booth, and nope, it is Anthony Leedy in race control. But when you're in the race control booth, that is one of the most thankless jobs in all of iRacing.
Well, let's just say race control ain't easy because there's some calls in race control that they're going to have to make the right call, and it's very hard to judge it off of, these racers here. And right there's the 48 of Dakota Blay. Out of Concord, North Carolina.
I don't know if it's I know that you and I are Yankees, so I'm not sure if that's going to be considered Concord or Concord.
I could go for both, but I say Concord.
As our racers are now getting ready to grid up here for the start of our race, we'll take a look at them as they slide into the cars. Of course, this is digital, so sometimes you've got to wait until someone clicks drive. But Braxton Barrett just climbing in, Andrew Teft just climbing in. We're still waiting for our pole sitter, Brandon Puffenbarger, to hop on into the race car. Come on. As we can take a look here down the field, it just looks cool. I know that this is something that we do so often in racing, but to me it always looks cool when everybody's lined up. Brandon Puffenbarger going to sit on the pole position from Morgantown, West Virginia. He'll be joined on the front row by outside pole sitter Andrew Teft out of Hope Valley, Rhode Island. Kensley Smith going to be on row number 2, featured with Braxton Barrett in the number 28. Kirby Wainscott and Brandon Zimmerman in row 3, while row 4 going to feature Ira Kohlhaas and Zach Lockett out of Vestal, New York. Gregory Robinson and Truth Hoke going to be in row 5, rounding out your starting top 10. Truth Hoke out of Hickory, North Carolina. And remember, in the South, they call that Hickory, not Hickory. Jason Bottoms and Alex Teft going to be in row 6, while Marshall Harris, as Ramim is from Aurora, Colorado. We're going to start on the inside of row 7 with Austin Walker in the 55. Row 8 going to feature Sam Kohlhaas and Thomas Stanley, while Dennis Kane and Paul Shaw going to start 17th and 18th. Our very own Jonathan Leach going to start in row number 10 on the inside alongside Brandon Honeycutt, while Noah Tansman and Dakota Bly start in row 11. Michael Smith going to be starting 23rd, and Jeremy Carter in 24th, and starting shotgun on the field is Brandon Sanfilippo in the number 12 Chevrolet Camaro. So 25 drivers set to take the field tonight for this 105 lap distance tonight. Pit window is going to be kind of interesting, Daniel, as we get underway here. And we'll talk about that in just a minute as we're working our way through turn 2. These drivers have been practicing, and it really shows here. This is one of those leagues where I know that none of these drivers wants to make that accident, that error. As we
go ahead, Dave.
As we work our way into turn number 3, the iRacing.com pace car leads us through the 3-4 complex, all of them double file here as we work into turn number 4. And I got to be honest, after being off for a week and getting a little bit of sun and fun down in Florida, I am ready to get back to racing tonight, as we can see the iRacing.com pace car peeling down pit road. The only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab a shot glass and a bottle of bourbon. Race fans, it's showtime! Brandon Puffenbarger getting a nice early start here as the field gets underway. A nice clean start, too, for a change, Daniel.
And like we mentioned, you're going to see these drivers spread out a little bit here. We're double filed for third on back. And you're going to see these drivers use different lanes here. But the 5 of Brandon Puffenbarger leading this race right now on the start really didn't have that momentum going in the Auto Club. Could he have the momentum going into tonight? That is the question yet to be answered. Looking back here, we see the 4 of Dennis Kane, last week's winner at Auto Club, dominated once out front. Could he do it again? We're just got to keep a close eye on this 4 and see him make moves as you see him going past the 55 down the back straightaway.
Yes, Dennis Kane working his way past Austin Walker, and now he's putting Sam Kohlhaas in the crosshairs. He's already up 2 positions from the moment the green flag dropped, and he just blew the doors off of Austin Walker. He's already starting to suck up to the rear of the 30. We're going to watch this as Kensley Smith just laid down fast time. We're going to pull up the battle box here and just watch that time slowly disappear between Kane and Kohlhaas, because right now he's at 800th of a second and closing. This is almost like watching a homing missile on an old movie, and here he goes.
Using that inside line to take the advantage away from the 30. And they're going to be side by side going down the front straightaway.
That's a good start for Kohlhaas and Kane as they battle it out here. Kirby Wainscott now laying fast time down at 30.24 here in the Ranger Boats number 10 Ford Mustang. Of course, this is a home racetrack for Kirby as he is from Sparta, Kentucky, right here in the backyard of the raceway. And that Black Rifle Coffee Company Ford Mustang, all kinds of cranked up crazy here in front of the home crowd.
Wonderful paint scheme on that number 10 for Kirby. And like you mentioned earlier on, Dave, when you were asking about pit stops, when do we see these drivers come down pit road? Well, from Auto Club, if it's the same way that's going to be here tonight, we're probably going to see those cars probably come in around lap 30, 35, stretching it on lap probably 37. That's the farthest I can see them go if this thing does run green. If not, and we get caution before 30 laps, I do expect them to come down pit road. And we always see this, Dave, if the leader comes down pit road, expect the whole field to come down as well.
Yeah, it becomes a Pied Piper situation for sure. And you know what? At a mile and a half like this, especially as we're watching, wow, all of a sudden Ira Kohlhaas running down Kirby Wainscott as if he owes him lunch money on the playground. We see a lot of these drivers start to follow the leader like that just simply because you don't want to get caught out there a lap down. God forbid the cold tire bug should come out and rob you of that track position.
I can see you going maybe a lap down, get your lap back. If you're 2 laps or 3 laps down, that's a pretty big hole to dig yourself out of as we're riding on board here with the 29. Aaron Kohlhaas, and Dave, let's talk about the 29 really quick. Aaron Kohlhaas last season had a really up and down season, really wasn't up towards the front as much as we expected. He has been there at certain points, but he hasn't been executing. Do we see a different change in momentum going into this new season? Only here in Kentucky so far.
Well, you know what? Sometimes that's the beauty of having a new season under your belt. Everything's fresh, and it's just like in any sport, whether it's racing, hockey, baseball, whatever. There is always a lot of hope early on in the season. I'll tell you what I don't have a whole lot of hope for. This little gaggle of cars right here led by Braxton Barrett and the 57 of Jason Bottoms and now Kirby Wainscott. Right now, if you're the 28 of Braxton Barrett, you're basically holding onto that wheel for dear life because all it's going to take is a mistake from Jason Bottoms or Kirby Wainscott, and your night is effectively over. We're going to take a ride right here on the nose. We can see the 10 and the 57 side by side, and now the 10 kind of backs off, and that's going to open the door for Braxton Barrett to get in there and secure away 7th position for the time being, as he is just 100th of a second ahead of Wainscott. We can see him here in that number 10 car. We've been talking about him, of course, this being a home track tonight, but all of a sudden Braxton Barrett under fire now from Marshall Harris, as Marshall Harris has a little connection issue there here on lap number 10.
You're seeing these drivers all going through the corner, using different lines, getting the momentum and runs that they need going down the front straightaway. And when we were on board with the 28 there, we saw him wash up the track a little bit. And that's what's kind of scary, because if you have a car on your outside and you hit him, that could send you around or the driver above you around. So you don't want to like run into each other or like, you know, not braking enough to where the point you're just sliding into one of each other, you know, doing a slide job. But, you know, when I raced here at last at Kentucky, Dave, it was so loose early on. For me, it was loose. So every time I would get into a corner, I would just slide up the track. I could never stick on that inside line. But it's looking like some of these drivers are doing that. They're staying on the inside line. They're not having the struggle with their handling, unlike other drivers are.
We have a lead change now as Kensley Smith is working his way around Brandon Puffenbarger. As Brandon Puffenbarger working his way around Kensley Smith. Smith trying to hold on to the lead. This is quite a battle that we're seeing right now. As you know, most of the time we don't see an early battle like this here. But now Kensley Smith backing off. It's almost like, you know, Kensley Smith found an extra gear there, which, I mean, technically these cars do have an extra gear. But right now, it's almost like Kensley Smith cooked a little bit. Puffenbarger. Geez, I'm cats. Puffenbarger didn't have enough to get around Smith and may have bit off a little bit more than he could chew, as he's going to go at it again. And, you know, at a mile-and-a-half racetrack like this, that's what these are all about. These are like little skirmishes on the racetrack. You know, right now, Puffenbarger has the 65 of Brandon Zimmerman just behind him. And, you know, the question is, does Zimmerman try to work with Puffenbarger, or do they wind up battling it out here, which allows Kensley Smith to get a little bit of a deeper run here ahead of him? You know, at a mile-and-a-half racetrack, you're going to have those little skirmishes where, you know, all of a sudden Puffenbarger going to draft up to the rear of Kensley Smith, challenge for the lead, realize he doesn't have it, then backs off, and then goes at it again, maybe in a different way. If I was Puffenbarger, I think I'd be trying to make some kind of an agreement with Zimmerman and say, hey, let's work on getting up to Smith first, and then we can battle it out for the lead.
I couldn't agree anymore. And the 65 of Zimmerman last week at Auto Club, Dave, he was doing really good. He was inside the top 10, inside top 5, competing for the lead here and there. I think he did lead some laps at Auto Club, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I think he's got a shot at it tonight. If he stays inside the top 3, top 5, and he continues to do what he's doing and he learns off of that, I think that momentum's going to carry on throughout the season. When we're looking right here at the 9, well, the 9 and the 59, they haven't had a really good start to their season, especially the 59 Truth Hope coming off of last season where he has been inside the top 10 and top 5.
Yeah, that Hooters Chevrolet just hanging on to the top 10 right now, trying to work his way up to Marshall Harris. And I'll tell you what, if I was Robinson, I would, especially after some of the performances he's had this season, you know, hey, let's just take our time here. We'll work our way up there. You know, there's no reason to get nuts this early in the race. As we take a look from the blimp cam, we can see the 21 of Marshall Harris starting to make the move here on Zach Lockett. He's looking for any kind of air that he can find on the high side. He probably could have stayed, you know, just attached to that bumper. It looks like he just hasn't figured out how to stay locked into the 93 of Zach Lockett, as Lockett getting ready to work his way around Jason Bottoms in the 57.
Working here on lap 18 out 105 has been green ever since the green flag, with Kensley Smith leading away. Could he get a special win here tonight from Kentucky? Well, this thing runs green. This thing's going to play out on strategy here, and so far it's looking that way.
Yeah, we can see Zach Lockett now getting around Jason Bottoms. He's got a little distance here to make up between himself and Andrew Teft, as he's about 1.7 seconds behind Teft and Braxton Barrett, who are currently going at it up here side by side. We can see Teft in the 98 trying to get up here around Braxton Barrett. He just hasn't found that secret yet, as we take a look again from our blimp. You know, the interesting thing here is that Andrew Teft, chief cook and bottle washer here at the Racers Elite Next Gen Series, you know, he's got to work his way up here nice and easy. He's got plenty of room behind him. He doesn't have to worry about making too, you know, dramatic of a mistake. you know, he could easily start to link up behind the 28 of Barrett and, you know, really make some hay because he's right in that sweet spot to catch a little bit of a draft.
Watch this 98 of Andrew Teft here on the back bumper of that 28 of Barrett. And you're seeing right here, Barrett going to the inside. Ryan, oh, look how he got loose right there, Dave. That is what I'm talking about. Look at these drivers are struggling with their handling, some of them. Ryan on board with the 98 Andrew Teft. You see him not side drafting, but he's using that outside line there. And he looks like he's going to try to go for 2 for 1 here. Going down the front straightaway, but 28 Barrett blocks.
That was a heck of a run that he got to get up here and follow the 28. It's almost like he and the 28 were able to steal that away from the 29. As, yeah, I think you may be right this time. There was a little side draft to be had there. As we take a look deeper in the field, Alex Teft, of course, just working ever so gently behind Jonathan Leach. Jonathan Leach leading him by about a quarter of a second, and Leach running in, let's see here, 14th position for the time being. He's still got 0.8 of a second to get up to Truth Hoke. So right now, you know, Leach is probably hoping for a caution. Let's get this field bunched up now that he's got, you know, +5 on the positions, you know, and gaining. Michael Smith, though, he's the big mover of the race along with Dennis Kane, as each of them are +6 right now on the scoring tower. 23 laps in the books out of 105. Michael Smith Jr. saying good luck, Midwest Motorsports. Taking a look here at the youtube.com live chat. And, of course, cheering on himself and Jeremy Carter and John Leach. Thomas S. seeing that well-timed to run last night. Let's go Midwest Motorsports, and Sarah smiling here saying good evening, everyone. Good evening, Sarah. Glad to have you in with us tonight. As always, here in the youtube.com live chat, Dave Regal and Daniel Paulus with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, live from Kentucky Kentucky Speedway. As it hasn't been converted to Motor Speedway yet, that's when we know that ISM purchases the racetrack itself.
Working on lap 25 out of 105. This race is going by very, very fast. And here's the thing, Dave. When you're behind the seat, right, you're driving around, you're worrying about who's behind you, who's in front of you, who's around you. You're not even thinking about the laps. You're listening to your spotter, but you're not thinking about the laps at all. You're just focused on what's happening around you. So when you're in the driver's seat, these drivers, you know, they're just focusing on driving.
Without a doubt, and I was about to show where Kensley Smith had gotten the lead away from Brandon Puffenbarger, but Brandon Puffenbarger is not happy about having lost that lead a moment ago, and he is back up here to try to get around Kensley Smith. And Smith still holding the edge here. We're going to take a look and see that pass that Puffenbarger made on Smith a moment ago. And we can see that this was just, you know, a clean pass, a good pass. Here at Kentucky, it almost looks like Kensley Smith just got right on the throttle and, you know, said, hey, listen, I am going to town here. I'm not going to give up, and secured that lead away. Now Puffenbarger back in the lead here in the 5. So Puffenbarger holding on over Kensley Smith, and now Brandon Zimmerman working the high side over top of Kensley Smith with Andrew Teft and Braxton Barrett in tow. So all of a sudden, we have basically a four-way battle for the lead, as these 4 cars are going to be duking it out for second position. The one thing that I'll tell you is that I do not like that formation. It's always something that gives me a little bit of anxiety when I see that diamond pattern come out with, you know, 1 car in front, 2 on the sides, and 1 in back. All it takes is somebody to fart the wrong direction, and your race is wrecked.
Sounds about right. And with these drivers battling side by side like this is not going to help them get to the front. This is going to hurt their momentum. So they might as well, you know, just work together, get that run, and then try to make a pass.
For sure. And, you know, SMI, by the way, just for housekeeping rules, yes, this racetrack here has been purchased already by SMI. So I'm sure at some point Kentucky Speedway is suddenly going to be called Kentucky Motor Speedway, like it seems like the rest of the SMI tracks are.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, they say Speedway, like they have to throw the word motor in there, and it's like, well, what else would you be speeding on? A horse?
Yeah, true.
I mean, dog racing, I'm pretty sure, is semi-illegal in Kentucky.
What was it? Dover International Speedway before, if I'm not mistaken.
Before SMI had it, it was Dover International Speedway, and now it's
Yes.
Dover Motor Speedway.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Cup Series go back to Kentucky. I thought Kentucky was a nice track.
It definitely seems to be tonight from the perspective of these drivers as Puffenbarger and Zimmerman work their way across the start-finish line here on lap number 32 of 105. So already a good race tonight, 32 laps on these tires. I didn't get a chance in pre-race to take a look at race conditions, but 72 degrees on the asphalt, 68 if you're in the grandstand. And I'll tell you what, 72 degrees in the asphalt, there is plenty of grip, which means that we're going to see some exciting racing here under the lights in Sparta. I'm glad that I didn't choose to open the race by saying this is Sparta. And oddly enough, another thing that I kind of like to see here at Kentucky, which I know that we've seen, many times over the years, is nobody's a lap down yet. Dakota Bly is the last car in line, just out here making laps, doing what he can. And right now he's only got a 17-second gap between himself and Puffenbarger, and that's just about a half a lap, which isn't bad. A lot of times we start to see, somebody take control of this race and start lapping the field, and this is not one of those times.
I've seen that. I've seen it with multiple drivers, Dave. You see drivers that are not even a lap down, or they could be a lap down, but they end up finishing the race.
This battle for the lead heating up once again here atop the pile. We can see Brandon Puffenbarger being challenged now by Brandon Zimmerman, as Zimmerman in the number 65 Planet Fitness Ford Mustang, trying to sniff his way up here and around to find an opening to get in front of Puffenbarger. And right now Puffenbarger just not in the mood to give up that lead. Braxton Barrett, however, is looking, and wow, just as I say that, Puffenbarger somehow gets tight, near contact between the 5 and the 65, and all of a sudden Brandon Zimmerman slides on back into third position as we look from the rooftop of Brandon Puffenbarger at now second position driver Braxton Barrett.
Watch this 28 Braxton Barrett. He's sneaking around looking to get that clean air, because Dave, it's totally different. When you're driving in clean air, it's there's nothing in front of you, but like when you're in dirty air, imagine being behind a semi track on a highway. That is exactly what it feels like. If you put your hand outside your window, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, it's incredible, especially when we can, examine that in the real world and not on the racetrack. And I mean, not that it's not a real racetrack, but it's the only way that the average person in a car can experience what these drivers do. Kensley Smith and Zach Lockett coming down pit road, as well as Ira Kohlhaas, Jason Bottoms, Marshall Harris, and Jeremy Carter. So they will be the first 5 to come down pit road, first 7 to come down pit road, as Kohlhaas and Bottoms are off. So now the question becomes, how long before Brandon Puffenbarger and Braxton Barrett decide they want to come down? And, do these 4 drivers, Teft, Zimmerman, Barrett, and Puffenbarger, stay out? As now it's Robinson and Kane coming down pit road. They're going to get 4 tires in the tank of Go Fast there, as well as Kirby Wayne Scott. So another few drivers coming down pit road. It's going to make the pit strategy graphic pretty interesting tonight.
It looks like I hit it right on the nose. Pit road around lap 30, 35, stretching to lap 37. Here comes our leaders, the 5 of Brandon and the 28 of Barrett down pit road. But Dave, it looks like I hit it right on the nose. They're probably going to stretch it to lap 37, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. And that's another indication that they could probably go to lap 68, 69 now, later on for the next pit cycle.
And what I'm watching for right now is Puffenbarger and Barrett just came into the pits, and they are currently stopped on pit road. Now Zimmerman has an interesting choice to make. Does Zimmerman try to stay out here? Andrew Teff down pit road. How many laps does Puffenbarger? I mean, look, they are just coming off of pit road. Barrett comes out just behind Puffenbarger. You know, until they get up to speed, Brandon Zimmerman could get another lap on them as we're going through this cycle.
Well, if I was the 65, I probably would have came down with the leaders. If not, but here comes the 65 of Zimmerman.
Alex Teft opting to stay out here in the 43 with Brandon Honeycutt, Austin Walker, Brandon Sanfilippo, and Jonathan Leach. And we're going to watch what the boss man here is going to do in the 86 as he watches the 12 and the 55 scoot on by. And you have to wonder, as we're going to ride along with John here, where he's going to be looking to come in as he comes down the back chute. He's got an interesting gap here just behind the 12 of Brandon Sanfilippo. He doesn't indicate that he's going to come down pit road anytime soon, so he stays out. We're going to take a look now from the gyro cam and just see what the hands of the man are doing. He's not fighting anything. Check these hands out right now. Jonathan is nice and comfortable right now, Shreveport, Louisiana, running in 4th position, and I don't see him fighting it. I don't see him, you know, having any kind of issues here. This is incredible. Those hands are nice and relaxed, and if I was John, I'd stay out there until it coughed out its last drop of fuel.
I'll be honest with you, his handling right now is like a knife through butter. And I never had that. Like, if you were on board with me back in the day at Kentucky, I would be all over the place. Like, I could never be that smooth like how his handling is right now. But every driver has a different handling, no matter what it is. Some drivers can be tight, some drivers can be loose. You all got to figure that out here.
Here comes the tightness as he slides up the track just a little bit. But, you know, watching that orange marker in the, you know, at the 12 o'clock position of the steering wheel, he's honestly very comfortable right now. At least he appears to be very comfortable.
There's the 29 of Ira Kohlhaas going around. There's the 93 of Zach Lockett. Sitting in 9th place, a lap down. There's the 43 of Alex Teft. And Alex Teft, folks, last season, he went out and won in the beginning of the season last season. Not the case this season so far out of the 43. Do we expect to see him in victory lane, Dave, later on this season, or at least compete for wins?
I'll tell you what, I do. And I mean, as he hauls it down the backstretch, he's got 1.8 seconds between himself and Honeycutt. And just 6 cars on the lead lap right now. I mean, obviously, if everybody, if we go under caution here in the next couple of laps, nope. Honeycutt and Sanfilippo, they've decided to come down, so they're just about done. You have to wonder if Teft is trying to save fuel. Let's ride along here and see if he's cutting the engine at all, because I don't think he is. I think he's just going to run this thing dry. He's going to run it dry until it coughs out dust at the end. He's not even thinking about it. Jonathan Leach doing the same thing, as well as Thomas Stanley. And we see Stanley here in the 62 in 3rd position, but way back, 11 seconds behind the leader, as Honeycutt and Sanfilippo are going to get ready to come off of pit road.
Yeah, Alex Teft staying out right now. The 62, I want to go back to the 62 really quick. He has had a weird season last season. We saw him in the catch fence at Indianapolis, and we saw him go airborne somewhere else. I think it was Talladega last season. So he's been pretty much more in the air than going out and winning. But, you know, the 62, he's a very smart, talented driver. I expect to see him maybe make the postseason. But, I mean, I feel like he's not having the momentum that he needs right now.
Jonathan Leach coming down pit road. He's decided he doesn't want to chance this any further. And to your point, I mean, Thomas Stanley last season, I saw some of the replays and some of the highlights from last year, and he definitely had more airtime than a skateboard at the X Games. As we
Yeah,
see
62
Stanley come
slow.
we see Stanley coming out of turn 4, and he's still staying out there. He's trying to hang tough as Alex Teft comes in. Jonathan Leach is on his way off of pit road now. He's going to cycle back to 17th position. So things starting to settle themselves out now as just one driver, Thomas Stanley, has not come down pit road. Right now, you've got to be stressed if you're Thomas Stanley because, you know, oh, and there he goes. Down pit, sir, there you go. Keep it on the apron. You know, that can be incredibly stressful for a driver when you're the only one that's not on the same pace, on the same tire grip. You know, you don't want to wreck someone else's race, but at the same time, strategically, you're trying to keep yourself in the best position to finish, you know, as high as you can. As we're at 49 laps in the books, some of these drivers may be trying, and Stanley may have it where he can now do this on one stop. I'm not sure. Or they just need, you know, another round of tires and a splash of fuel for the end of this piece.
Let's see how this plays out here. Hey. Look who's sitting in 8th place right now, Dave. It's the 4 of Dennis Kane inside the top 10 again.
Dennis Kane deeper inside the top 10 as he just slides back into 9th position. Kane trying to hold himself up there. I can't blame him, that's for sure. Want to welcome everybody into the youtube.com live chat. Make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications. Let us know who you're pulling for and what you're watching tonight. Of course, you know, in the chat. So we're going to step aside here as we have now crossed the half-century mark, that 50-cent piece, on lap number 51. You're watching the Racers Elite Cup Series right here at Kentucky Speedway.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As that's still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker, the future is feeling.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to Kentucky Motor Speedway, where the Racers Elite Cup Series is working lap number 62 of 105. Dave Regal and Daniel Paulus Jr. with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. I want to welcome everybody in and thank you for making us a part of your evening. Zach Lockett, your new race leader here, as he has just recently taken over in the last little bit here. Pit stops have been completed back between laps number 36 and 43, so it's been an interesting pit cycle, Daniel.
It has, and you know we're probably going to see him come down pit road one more time before the race is over. And here's the thing, Dave: they don't take tires; they're only going to get a splash of fuel. But I've also seen drivers who don't take tires at all, or take 2 tires. I don't see a lot of drivers take 4 on their final pit stop.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what, it's going to depend on what your left side tire wear was during the last cycle. If you didn't have a whole lot of left side, wear on that, you can get away with 2 tires, loosen the car back up, and a splash of fuel to get to the end. And when I say a splash of fuel, I really mean, like 3 or 4 gallons max, because you don't need that much to get to the end of this race. You don't want to be sitting down on pit road forever waiting for that second fuel can to go in the old Chevrolet. So plus, the lighter you can make the car, maybe you can get a little bit quicker through the turns. So we're going to see some interesting decisions, come the latter portion of this race. As we take a look at Jonathan Leach, he's about a tenth of a second now. Wow, never mind, just kidding, just absolutely put Jeremy Carter to shame and drove the wheels off of it. Now, Leach is being followed by the 62 of Thomas Stanley, and Stanley, of course, down a lap now. So Leach now getting himself closer to the top 10. He really does need, and I don't want to jinx it, but he does need a caution to try to tighten things back up and have a shot at diving deeper into the top 10, because we see a few groups out here on the racetrack tonight. Of course, Braxton Barrett hiding just behind Kensley Smith, Kohlhaas, Puffenbarger, and Lockett. This group, you can throw a blanket over that top 5. They're going to be battling it out, and they're basically just waiting for the right time to make the move.
Let's be honest here, Dave. I know we saw 3 wide last week at Auto Club with Dennis Kane winning. We could probably see 3 wide again if the time is right and these drivers are all under a blanket again. We could see somebody maybe try it 3 wide, go for, the lead and risk it for a biscuit, as I like to call it.
Well, you certainly can't get that biscuit without having to risk it. I'll agree with you there. As we see Brandon Puffenbarger just kind of lurking about a quarter of a second behind Zach Lockett. And, in in hockey, we would say that he's pestering him. There's a lot of distance between Zimmerman and Bottoms right now, as about 2 seconds separate those two drivers. Gregory Robinson now just behind Bottoms, so Robinson's starting to look to secure away 7th position. So the top 10 still very much undecided. This race is still very undecided here as we're on lap number 68 of 105.
You're seeing some drivers that are a few laps down. I'm looking at, the 59 True Folk, 3 laps down. 62 of Thomas Stanley, 2 laps down. San Filippo, a lap down. Wayne Scott, a lap down. The 48, a lap down. If we don't have any cautions, these guys are in a hole, and their night has not gone well. But let me tell you, the drivers that are 3 or 2 laps down, I don't think they have a legitimate shot here tonight.
No, and Puffenbarger, at least up here in the lead, he's being challenged right now. Well, he and Zach Lockett are throwing haymakers at one another, just trying to get around here. They've gone side by side atop the pile. And I got to tell you, that makes it exciting, especially when you're, Kensley Smith waiting for someone to make the mistake in front of you. I mean, right now, the most fortunate driver on the racetrack is Kensley Smith here in the 15 Napa Auto Parts machine. And, Tarboro, North Carolina's very own Smith is just waiting for someone up front to flinch the wrong way.
Ryan on board here at the 15, Kensley Smith. Loving that Napa auto scheme there. Brings me back to the good old days.
It does. What a run. Did you happen to notice the distance that Smith just closed on the 93 of Zach Lockett? Because all of a sudden, he's really starting to close that gap up on entry.
Yeah, I'm seeing it too. We're going to have to keep a close eye on these two, but don't count out right there. Look at the 28 of Barrett closing in. Look at the run he's getting in the turn number 1.
Barrett working his way just behind Kensley Smith now, and it's starting to get to the point where we're starting to see some of these drivers get comfortable with where they're running in the racetrack. And I mean, at this stage in the race, you don't want to spend it all too soon, but at the same time, you don't want to cut your nose off to spite your face. You're trying to be patient. You're trying to wait for somebody else to make a mistake. But if you have an opportunity, to be a little bit more aggressive and try to close that gap up, do it. As I see right now, Gregory Robinson and Dennis Kane coming down pit road early. They're going to cut this thing short.
I don't know if I would want to do that, Dave. I mean, if you think about it, yes, they're on new tires compared to everybody out on track, but then the drivers that come back down later, they're going to be on new tires, and then Dennis Kane will be on old tires. So, I mean, is the strategy thinking, this thing runs completely green, the 4 can keep, the momentum inside the top 2, top 3, and hopefully go and contend for a win? Is that what the 4 is probably thinking?
It could be, as we're going to take a look at the top 10 pit strategy right now. Not one single person seems to be on the same pit strategy with the exception of Puffenbarger and Barrett. They each have 36 laps on those tires. Of course, Harris has 38 laps on those tires. Wow, geez, cats. Did you see that with the 26? Woof.
That was pretty intense, and I don't know, some reason it just brings me back to a GoDaddy scheme. I don't know why.
Trust me, I get it. And look, Barrett and Puffenbarger each coming in now, so that's going to put some of these drivers in that same strategy box. Now, here's the thing: we've got 30 laps this time by, as Honeycutt passes the start-finish line. 30 laps to go now here at Kentucky Speedway, and maybe for some of these drivers, especially if you squeezed out those last couple drops of fuel, they might have a shot here. The other drivers coming in now early, they're trying to give themselves a small advantage if we continue to stay green. Basically, none of these drivers are going to see that caution flag come out. Here comes Jonathan Leach down pit road as he just called it out. Jonathan Leach from Shreveport, Louisiana. Ooh, locks him up coming onto pit road. That's fine. It's going to be fine. He's just going to get 4 tires here. Let's see if he does get 4. If he wasn't going to get him before, he better now, as he might have just flat spotted that right front.
Well, let's see if that Jack is going to lift up that 86 machine. There he is in his pit box. And, yeah, there they go. That's one side.
Attaboy, Luther. Go get him. Looks like he's going to take
and there goes the second
stop. Brandon Honeycutt here out of Elizabethton, Tennessee. He is our race leader. I'm betting dollars to donuts that Honeycutt's going to stay out until the wheels are ready to fall off of this thing. At this point, if he comes down pit road, it looks like Teft is down a lap already. Something's wrong. That can't be right. That just can't be right. Teft is somehow down a lap. It's almost like Honeycutt just lapped the field, and and Teft didn't even come down pit road yet. That's weird.
I find that very odd.
How does your second place driver who hasn't come down pit road yet go down a lap? That has to be a timing and scoring error. We'll see if that cycles itself out here.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay, now I feel better.
Whoa, look at the 5.
Oh my.
Oh gosh, I thought he was going to turn to 15.
Oh my.
Look at the run.
Comes down pit road, and now the rest of the field gets itself caught back up. And Teft still showing lap 39 as his last time down. Going to be following Zach Lockett in the 93. That should make this time by Kensley Smith your race leader. It's going to keep Brandon Honeycutt on the lead lap as he is now making his way out of pit road. So maybe Honeycutt staying out and being the last in line isn't a bad thing. As Kensley Smith, your race leader here in the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro, he's followed as we work our way through the top 10 by Brandon Puffenbarger out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Zach Lockett running in third from Vestal, New York. Braxton Barrett in fourth, and Brandon Zimmerman makes up the rest of your top 5 from Gloucester. Sixth position currently held by Andrew Teft as Ira Kohlhaas is in seventh. Jason Bottoms, Gregory Robinson out of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Dennis Kane from Detroit, Michigan rounds out your top 10.
Let's see if the 5 can close in on the 15 of Kensley Smith. And that gap's closing very, very fast, Dave, here.
Watching Robinson here work behind Jason Bottoms by about 0.2 of a second. All of a sudden here on timing and scoring, we can start to see some red, orange, and yellow, which means that some of these drivers are getting awfully close to one another. Brandon Puffenbarger being challenged by Zach Lockett, less than 0.2 of a second now. So these top 3, we might see them on the podium as we're just under 20 to go, or just over 20 to go. Kensley Smith leading this piece, and right now it's just been the Smith-Puffenbarger show once we get through pit cycles and things like that. Of course, Tansman, Wayne Scott, and Hoke all down 2 laps. Unfortunately for them, Ira Kohlhaas back in 19th position would be your lucky dog should the unfortunate caution come out at this stage in the race. And I mean, I can't tell you how surprised I am. We're 44 minutes into this piece and 84 laps in the books, and these drivers are just rocking.
Just rocking. Like, I mean, this is incredible racing. Talented drivers going week in, week out, learning about these different style of tracks, getting used to the tracks here. And, I mean, they're doing an excellent job. Now crossing the line with 20 laps to go here on Sim Racing Media here for the Next Gen Series from Kentucky. We saw last week at Auto Club have a great finish. Do we see that again between the 15 to 5 or the 93? Well, we're going to find out. And there is the 5 of Puffenbarger. You saw him in the picture there, closing in inch by inch to the 15 of Kensley Smith.
Slowly I turned, step by step, inch by inch. Niagara Falls, as Kensley Smith being harassed right now by Puffenbarger. I mean, right now, if we take a look here from the rear end of Kensley Smith, as I try to pull that up here, looking back at Brandon Puffenbarger just absolutely harassing him. Tarboro, North Carolina's very own Kensley Smith here trying to hold him off, but it seems like Puffenbarger gets a really good draft down the backstretch and into turn 3, and we can start to see ever so closely, my goodness, Smith starting to look, we're going to see a good battle for the lead here as Puffenbarger and Smith are not done yet.
Don't count 93 Zach Lockett. Now he's all over the 5, and the 5 needs to make a move here if he doesn't want to get passed by a 93.
What you're watching right now is the 93 giving a little bit of arrow push to the 5, which gets the 5 up onto the bumper of the 15. So, Puffenbarger trying to get himself around the 15 needs the 93's help, but at the same time, he doesn't want the 93 to wind up, getting the old 2-for-1 okey doke move. And here it comes. They're going to hang Puffenbarger on the high side as Puffenbarger gets stuck out there a little bit. The 93 comes up with some help, but right now it seems like Zach Lockett knows exactly how he's going to get alongside of Brandon Puffenbarger.
Yeah, 93's in that inside line. Look at this. I thought we were going to go 3 wide here, but watch this run. The 93 has the 5 battling for the lead with Kensley Smith in the 15. They're nose and nose heading down the back straightaway. Where's this 93 going to go? Are they going to help the 15? He is, and they're still side by side in turn 3 and 4, Dave.
Well, and now take a look at this from a racer's perspective. Right now, Brandon Puffenbarger just gave plenty of room to the 15. I mean, neither of them wants to the 15 gets loose coming out of turn 4. But, Puffenbarger doesn't want to make that mistake and wind up taking out, Smith. They want this to be a clean pass for the lead. They want this to be a good battle for the lead, and they are making it so right now. As we can see right here, as we're going to pull up the battle box, these cars all separated by less than a quarter of a second from Lockett to Puffenbarger. And, right now, they don't want to be giving up any kind of real estate.
Don't make a mistake. That's all we're saying. Because if you make one little mistake, Dave, your race could be over.
Without a doubt, as we take a look, all of a sudden, Lockett's starting to, wow. Lockett really got wild coming up to the rear end of Kensley Smith. Didn't want to make a mess out of things. And before I forget, let's take a look here at what's coming up next week here in the Racers Elite Series. Of course, all times are 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, the trucks will be over at Nashville Fairgrounds. That should be exciting. I love short track racing and the truck series. Then the Xfinity Series, the B car, is going to be in Las Vegas, while next Thursday, you and I will be right here at Martinsville on the paperclip. And I gotta start to think we're going to be in Martinsville as we're watching with 14 to go, 0 cautions. I don't think that's going to be the same story next week in Virginia.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I think we're going to see cautions at Martinsville. I mean, it's the paperclip. We saw wall riding in real life by the wonderful Melon Man. But, I mean, these drivers, tempers do flare here at Martinsville. There could be somebody giving you a push in the front. You slide up the track on that white flag. You're 3 wide. As you see right there, the 93 is Zach Lockett battling with the 15 of Kensley Smith for second as they head off at turn number 4. 93 is going to have the side drafts here, but he's not going to have the momentum as the 15 continues to stay in second here with 11 laps to go.
Taking a look at the battle for the top 5 here is Braxton Barrett trying to get around Wolf. As the 65 trying to get around Braxton Barrett here for the battle in 4th position. Brandon Zimmerman coming out atop that battle there. But right now our focus is on this top 3 because they have absolutely turned it on with now 12 to go. And it's funny that you should mention the Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain. I was actually, while I was in Florida, I was with a friend of his dad's, and, she says to me, yeah, we know a guy whose son drives in NASCAR. I was like, oh, really? I was like, who is it? I don't remember the kid's name, but he drives the number 1 car, and I'm scratching my brain for a second. I was like, well, what series does he drive in? You know, I'm in Florida, so I'm thinking it could be the K&N East, it could be ARCA, it could, anything. And I said, wait a second, is his son's name Ross? And she's like, yeah, that's what it is. And I almost threw up on my mouth. I was like, that kid ruined the race in Martinsville. All of a sudden, I turned into like an old man, get off my grass kind of person. And meanwhile, you have to understand that this woman that I'm speaking with is my dad's, let's just say, very good friend.
Best friend.
He's 66. I really don't want to say that my old man's trying to make it. Anyway, so, and Dad's looking at me, and he's like, oh, stop it. Like, if they're friends, stop it. And I'm like, no, this kid ruined an entire race. No, not allowed. I was like, there are now rules against this.
Yeah, it's like a one and done. But, like, also about Martinsville, you know, that famous hot dog. Like, what is so famous about the hot dog? I really want to go to Martinsville and try one.
You have to understand, I am a hot dog aficionado. You know what? I just said that out loud, and it sounded horrific. But, you know, I am a hot dog aficionado. I've always had a dream of going to all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums and trying the hot dog in each stadium. And I have heard nothing but amazing things about the hot dogs at Martinsville. It's on my bucket list. I mean, realistically, you and I could take the old, the road trip down to Martinsville from where we are here in Pennsylvania. That would actually be really fun. There's an idea for later in the year.
Yeah, we should do that.
But as that thought just gallops through my mind at 170 miles per hour. But, you know, Martinsville itself has a lot of history locked up in that old track, and I can't wait to get there next Thursday.
Oh, I'm ready to see some action.
I mean, you know that it's a big deal when Richard Petty's like, yeah, go up there, here's the deal. Richard Petty's all about here's the deal. Here's the deal, man. You go up there and get yourself a hot dog in Martinsville. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're 85 years old. Like, give it a rest, man. Nope. He wants the Martinsville hot dog. Meanwhile, back at the ranch here with 6 laps to go, Brandon Puffenbarger leads this now. He has opened up a 1.7 second gap over Kensley Smith and Brandon Zimmerman, who are back here just battling it out. I mean, right now, the pitchforks and torches are out. And, you know, this is basically a 4-way battle for the podium between Kensley Smith, Brandon Zimmerman, Zach Lockett, and Braxton Barrett, as these 4 drivers are not ready to give it up yet. And, I mean, I say that just as Zach Lockett fades away behind Barrett. And now I stand corrected. Now it's like the old do-si-do move.
Well, we still have 5 laps to go. Let's see what happens here. Zimmerman contending for second place right now, over to 50. Oh, Kensley Smith slams that wall. And doesn't hurt him too much, but, I mean, he's still there fighting for second. But it looks like 65 is starting to pull away a little bit. 4 laps to go here from Kentucky with the 5 of Puffenbarger. Hasn't won at all this season. Last weekend at Auto Club, he was doing pretty good, just didn't get there. And right now with 4 laps to go, it sure looks like Puffenbarger's going to win this race unless caution comes out or the 65 Zimmerman finds a way to get there.
Yeah, with 4 to go, Brandon Puffenbarger has turned on the afterburners and decided to just start gapping himself between Zimmerman and Smith. And I mean, meanwhile, third position still not totally decided as Kensley Smith and Braxton Barrett side by side. Kensley Smith in the 28, Barrett in the 28, Lockett in the 93. They are not done yet, as we are now 3 laps to go as we haul it down the back chute once more.
28 of Barrett trying to get around the 15 of Kensley Smith. Can he do it? Now coming down the front straightaway here with 2 laps remaining here, Dave. And this thing has been running green ever since. Great racing going on. I can't believe it's already getting towards the end.
Popsicle sticks in the air. Kensley Smith being challenged by Braxton Barrett. This is the battle for the podium. Brandon Zimmerman driving away from the battle. Oh, they nearly touch coming down the backstretch. It looks like Kensley Smith going to be passed now by Braxton Barrett. He's got the edge on entry here into turn 3. They roll it out of 3 and into 4. all of a sudden the popsicle sticks go down. The white flag is in the air. We are racing back to checkers. 105 green flag laps here at Kentucky Speedway in the Racers Elite Cup Series. You never see this here on the iRacing.com servers. And Barrett and Smith. Oh, well, that's going to do it for Smith, as Barrett's now going to be able to run away from him. So it's going to be Puffenbarger, Zimmerman, and Barrett on your podium as we roll it out of turn number 4. Looks like it's going to be Brandon Puffenbarger crossing the start-finish line and winning here at Kentucky Speedway in the Racers Elite Next Gen Series.
I knew that 5 was going to win anytime, any place this season, and so far here he is collecting his first win at Kentucky Speedway after not executing the way he wanted to at Auto Club. I mean, this guy is so talented, Dave. I don't even know how to explain it. But, I mean, what a great second and third place finish between the 65 of Zimmerman finishing second and the 28 of Barrett in third place. That's a good finishing spot for them.
Absolutely. Brandon Puffenbarger bringing it to a rest here just before the start-finish line and gets ready to burn it down and fill the stands with that tire smoke here. We're going to get a hold of Brandon Puffenbarger here in the broadcast booth in just a moment. Trying to look here in our...
What a great way for the 5 of Brandon Puffenbarger to cap off his not-so-good finish at Auto Club to win here in the Racers Elite Next Gen Series from Kentucky. Getting interviews underway here soon. I believe Dave is with Brandon Puffenbarger.
Not yet. Oh, there he is. Hey, Brandon, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a race you ran tonight. A dominant performance by the 5 team. I mean, take us through this because you just went 105 green flag laps here at Kentucky.
I was in practice. I didn't think I had a long run speed like most of the other guys, so I was just trying to take a different line than what they were to see if I could save right front tire, and it seemed to work a lot. I could be able to carry a little more speed than they could in 3 and 4, but pit strategy didn't really come into play like I thought it would. I mean, usually here it's a little more than what it was tonight, but all in all, I had a great time battling Brandon and Kinsley up front.
Yeah, I mean, you guys put on one heck of a show. I mean, you know, it's not very often that you see something with more than 100 laps on the iRacing.com server that goes green like this, but you guys proved that you can get it done here in Racers Elite. Now, of course, next week we head to the Paperclip in the Cup Series at Martinsville. What are you thinking as we get ready to go short track racing?
Oh, I'm excited for that one. I like well, that's probably the only short track I like. But I think it'll be fun, and we just got to give each other a little extra room at the start and throughout the run next week.
Well, and to your point, speaking of giving each other room, I mean, you guys were giving each other plenty of room as you were duking it out all night with the 15, the 65, you know, and the 93. I mean, I was so impressed watching the amount of room that you guys were giving each other. That contributed, I think, a lot to the way that this race went. So, you know, good for you guys. Congratulations on the win. Before we cut you loose, though, who do you need to tip your helmet to?
Just Andrew for putting on the league. It's been fun. It's always fun racing with these guys. You guys for putting on the broadcast. Everybody for coming out, and the top 3 or 4 I was racing with tonight for racing clean and giving each other a lot of room tonight.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations, and we will see you next Thursday night here at 7:30 p.m. at the Paperclip Martinsville.
Sounds good.
And Daniel, I believe that you should have Brandon Zimmerman, if memory serves correct.
You're correct. Brandon Zimmerman, it's Dave and Daniel in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well. We ran from start to finish. Green flag, nonstop. Pit strategies coming into play. Tell us, fans and broadcasters, what was it like running that race tonight?
That was pretty hard. I thought for sure we'd get at least one caution there. But tire wear wasn't really a big factor. Car felt fine. It was just good intense racing the whole time, and I had a lot of fun out there, man.
So how was your car handling tonight? Was it tight, loose? Because we saw a couple drivers a little struggling with their handling tonight.
Yeah, it was a little tight, but I was playing with the brake adjustment after my first pit stop, and I found a little sweet spot, and I loved it, and it stuck where I needed to go, and I was able to climb back up. I had a very slow pit stop the first time, so I was able to get back to P2, and just couldn't track down Brandon there. He had a really good car.
Well, now Kentucky's out of the way. We're going short track racing next week. We're going to the famous paperclip, Martinsville, the famous hot dog. What's your expectations going into Martinsville? Because I know a lot of tensions can rise on these short tracks.
Yeah, I don't see that one going caution free.
I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm just hoping I get a good start position and try to survive pretty much. I'm pretty sure that fast repair that we have is going to be used quite often next week.
Well, congratulations on a top 3 finish here. Hopefully you win at Martinsville next week. Do you have anybody you would like to thank tonight?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for broadcasting. The Tap Brothers putting together a really good league. I'm having a lot of fun here. And Kinsley invite me to drive an extreme team. And that's about it, bud.
All right, well, congratulations. That's Brandon Zimmerman finishing second here at Kentucky. See you next week from Martinsville.
Thank you, bud.
And last but certainly not least on our podium tonight, Braxton Barrett, driver of the number 28. Hey, Braxton, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I do. What's going on?
Man, you're what's going on. Listen, you battled your way up here all night long in the Ford Mustang. I mean, a pair of blue ovals and a Toyota atop the pile. How do you find yourself here on the third step of the podium?
Luck. I was telling luck and patience. I had 0 short run speed. I felt like the whole race. If you could tell, I was dropping about 2 to 3 seconds back from that front pack on the right after the pit cycles, but man, that was just a game of patience. I didn't think I'd come out with third, but here we are.
Yeah, we were watching. It was almost like watching an accordion. You'd stretch out, you'd come closer, you'd stretch out, you'd come closer. And I mean, all things considered, you still ran yourself a heck of a race. You qualified fourth, you finished third. You've got a lot that you can build on from this experience tonight. And as we head next week to Martinsville, what are you gonna be able to translate from tonight's performance at Kentucky?
I don't know if there'll be much to translate. Maybe momentum. I've not had much luck in the Cup Series this season. I did the Truck Series last season, and I felt like I did pretty decent there. But these Cup cars are just a whole different breed. They like to get tight. I'm not that good at driving a tight. I'm not good at driving a tight race car, and I'm not a big fan of it. But we'll make the best of what we can.
Yeah, one of the things that I always noticed back during when I was driving, these next-gen Cup cars, is that they start out loose, they get tighter than a snare drum, and then all of a sudden they start to loosen up a little bit toward the end of that run. And I mean, you guys, as far as pit strategies go, we're stretching it, just as far as humanly possible. I mean, I was impressed from start to finish. I mean, just a couple of drivers came down late. Many of you were able to make this a 2-stop race, so I tip my cap to you for being able to make it, on 3 stops here and getting it done here at Kentucky. So, but before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run tonight and shout out?
Huffenberger, man, I've been running with him on this team for a couple weeks now, and he's great. I mean, he'll give you tips. He's like an open book. He'll help you out any chance he gets. He's a hell of a blocker. I'll say that though. He won't let you buy him, but he'll let you stay behind him.
It's always nice when you can have that teammate that gives you those tips, but he never lets you see all the way behind the curtain because at the end of the day, he still wants to bring home that checkered flag. So,
oh yeah, you can't say I don't blame him though.
I don't blame him either. That's just racing.
Heck no. I'm like Tony Stewart. I'd wreck my mom for a championship.
I get it, man. I get it. Listen, congratulations on the P3 finish tonight, and we'll see you next week at Martinsville.
Sounds good. See ya.
Well, Daniel, another one in the books here at Kentucky Speedway, and I'll tell you what, this race was incredible from start to finish. We didn't have any cautions whatsoever, 105 laps from start to finish. and they were all green flag. I can't tell you how impressed I am.
I'm kind of quite impressed too, but I mean, I'm not impressed as well because I know how these drivers race. They race very clean. They have respect between each other, and they put on great performances week in, week out, and work really hard at all these tracks. So, I mean, next week at Martinsville, probably not going to run all green. Probably going to see some tensions rise, but that's so great about short track racing. But Brandon Pufenbarger is leading the way again, looks like.
Absolutely. As we take a look at our final results here, Brandon Pufenbarger captures the checkered flag at Kentucky. He's followed by Brandon Zimmerman and Braxton Barrett on the podium. So a Toyota and a pair of blue oval Fords on the podium. Kensley Smith finishes in fourth with Zach Lockett in fifth, rounding out your top five. Ira Kohlhaas finishes in sixth with Gregory Robinson and Dennis Kane in seventh and eighth. Brandon Honeycutt and Jason Bottoms make up the rest of your top 10, while Jonathan Leach brings home 11th position in one of his best finishes of the season in the 86. Austin Walker finishes in 12th. Jeremy Carter in 13th with Paul Shaw and Andrew Teth in 14th and 15th. Michael Smith finishes 16th, while Sam Kohlhaas and Marshall Harris finish in 17th and 18th. Brandon Sanfilippo and Alex Teft finished 19th and 20th, making up that top 20, while Dakota Bly and Kirby Wainscott finished 21st and 22nd. Thomas Stanley and Truth Hoke finished 23rd and 24th, and last in the field tonight, somebody had to be it. Noah Tansman, just 87 laps before he put it on the hauler, finishing in 25th position. So, an exciting night here at Kentucky Speedway. I'm looking forward to grabbing a hot dog and settling in next week in the broadcast booth with you as we go to Martinsville. And Daniel, what a run we had tonight. I want to thank all of our viewers for making us a part of your evening. Of course, welcoming us into your homes, and of course on your phones and everything else that you can watch us on the YouTube.com live stream here on Sim Racing Media. So for myself, Dave Regal, and my partner Daniel Paulus Jr. here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, I want to thank you once again for tuning in. And tomorrow, as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.